Libra, Creature of the Night, is the 6th enhanced boss to appear in Elden Ring Night Rain, and this guy drives me mad. Hi boys, I'm Chris Crass. I beat this frenzied goat multiple times solo and with teams, and I'm here to bring you an actually useful boss guide. Carry holy damage if possible, and let's get straight into it. Also, apologies if I sound terrible, I am very sick right now. With that said, since Libra enters his enhanced state at 90% HP and most moves carry over, I'ma skip straight to that. Plus, I already have a regular Libra guide. Now, in a nutshell, Everdark Libra is basically Golden Libra with one new move that periodically summons mimics and does one of 6 possible side effects every time he does it. Here's a quick summary. Inescapable Eye summons Eye above head, Eye procs Madness. Insight Riot summons one more mimic that will attack the other one. Preaches Madness. Your attacks will now do Madness buildup. So does the mimic. Offers Challenge. Reduces max HP of all allies and mimic by 50%. False Blessing. Healing doesn't consume flash, but you lose levels every heal. Shroud all allies. All allies are hidden from view, your friends are gone. Also, Summon Condemned doesn't count because that just summons the mimic, which almost always appears. I'll go more in depth on each side effect and how to counter them later on, but for now, this video will be divided into 3 segments, as you'll be dealing with them all at once, and this will make things easier to understand. Starting with Libra himself. Since his spells practically dictate the flow of the fight, let's start off with that. For most of these, I want you to pay attention to his non-staff wielding hand. With that said, let's begin. Frenzied Floor. Whenever Libra clenches his fist, a magic circle will appear beneath all players, dealing holy damage and madness buildup. This spell is one of the most common and can be dealt with by either regular sprinting out of the circle or timing the roll as you see the particles conjure above the circle. Not only that, whenever the spell is cast, it will also leave behind 6 more circles in a hexagonal pattern, which takes a bit longer to activate, about 5 seconds to be specific. And if you're in teams or use Revenant Summons, everyone gets 7 circles each. This attack can appear by itself or followed up by the Jumping Slam. More on that in a second. Frenzied Turret. Whenever Libra pushes his arm forward, he will summon a magic circle that will shoot projectiles in a line. This circle will slowly spin clockwise for exactly 10 seconds, where it will make a full 360 rotation before fizzling out. To deal with this, you can roll to the right on the initial cast and follow behind the circle, or stay in the first quadrant as it will never spin past 360 degrees. This attack is the other most common spell, and is a follow-up to 2 different attacks. Also, multiple instances can appear at once. Frenzy Shower. Telegraphed whenever Libra throws an orb into the air, the way this attack works is that there will be 3 floating orbs which will rain down projectiles that will detonate upon landing. Here's a top-down view. Basically, each orb will drop projectiles in a circular pattern in 3 beats. With each beat, the orbs float further away, but the pattern gets larger. To deal with this, you can run away from the first beat and combat after the second to be safe, or you can raw dog it and jump the ground explosions by timing it as you see the particles light up. This attack is a bit rarer than the others. All of the spells so far will drop Frenzy Chips, which cure madness and a small amount of HP, which you should always remember to keep in mind throughout the entire fight. This reminds me, Libra also gets a damage boost every time madness is procced in the vicinity. I don't know the exact number, but after reviewing footage, it seems about 20%. Now moving on to the ones that don't drop chips. Teleport. Telegraph when Libra raises his staff and glows yellow, Bro will use the spell mainly to teleport away or towards you. But if you're in teams, Bro will use this to teleport between teammates. This attack can be dealt with the exact same way as a Frenzied Floor, but without 6 extra circles. Frenzied Aurora. This is a new one. Appearing after Libra reaches 50% HP, Bro will hit this pose before summoning a giant X. Getting hit by the initial activation will delete a huge chunk of your HP, and can potentially one-shot you if he happens to be buffed. From there, this spell will leave behind an aurora of yellow light that lasts a whole last 2 minutes, and that getting anywhere near it will remove 25% of your max HP. Random pause really quick. If you're wondering why you see these sigils, or why the mimics only use starting gear, that's because most of the footage I'm gonna show is from the leaked version of the game. I apologize if this upsets you, but it is physically impossible for me to make a guide this in depth in one day, and I am currently too sick to redo all the footage. But anyways, back to the video. Also, despite what it may seem, the center of the cross isn't a blind spot and will still take away your HP. If you're in teams, try to stick together when you notice the boss reach 50% HP to prevent paying a blood tax whenever a teammate needs a revive. That's all the spells covered, onto the melee. Trust me, this one isn't as complicated. Starting with the pure melee combos, which Libra only has 2 of. The first is this left-right slam, which you can punish after rolling 3 times, or by rolling to the right on the second, you can strafe the last attack for a heavy punish. The other is the overhead staff combo. Telegraph when Libra holds his staff above his head with both hands. For this attack, dodge 3 times in quick succession before strafing to the side a bit for a big punish. The rest of the attacks can chain into spells, that being the staff drag into turret summon, the walking knock into turret summon, into twirl, and the jumping slam into clench. Though, note that the boss doesn't always do the follow-ups. One last thing, after dealing a certain amount of stance damage, Libra will enter an enraged state. At first I thought this boss needed 2 stance breaks to riposte, But since Wilder's ult in solos doesn't trigger the enraged state, I don't think this is the case. Anyways, as soon as you notice this, position yourself to the left to continue hitting Libra while it does the phase transition. The roar does madness build up, but unless you've already got a bunch of madness already built up, I wouldn't worry about it. From here, Bro only has 5 moves. 1. The flashbang. Telegraph when the boss reels its arm back. Bro can do this up to 3 times in a row, and each time you can punish with a rolling R1. 2. Rush into wave. Telegraph when the boss crouches down, roll the dash before readying yourself to either run jump the follow-up frenzied wave or spot dodge it. 3. The triple slam. Telegraph when the boss raises both his fists. The boss will always do this move 3 times in a row before ending it with this AoE, which you can run away from, but can be a really nice opening if you dodge into it. So to help you time your roll, click dodge when you see a green circle on screen, or if you're colorblind, it's the slightly larger circle. 4. The tweak. For this attack, the boss will start screaming before doing an 8-hit combo. It kinda goes like this. Hit, jump, hit, jump, hit, jump, hit, jump, ending wave. It sounds kinda stupid, but you try to explain this. 5. Phase Ender. Often appearing as a follow-up to a rush attack, this appears after a minimum of 30 seconds, where the boss will spawn a cloud of frenzy before dropping it on you, ending the phase. Once again, the timing circle is on screen. Also, while in this state, the boss is unable to summon any more mimics, and each move drops way more pellets than they do in the normal state. Finally, when inflicting the boss with frenzy, it does a unique animation, though it's a lot simpler than it seems. Just run away after the madness proc to avoid the initial flailing, and roll backwards to dodge and punish the single standing slam. Okay, that was a lot. Now we can finally move on to the main gimmick of this fight. The Mimic. Here's a few things to know about him. 1. Libra cannot damage it. 2. Mimics will have a randomized build that suits their playstyles and will often have one unique trait. 3. The amount spawned depends on the players on screen. If you're playing in trios, there's one for each. 4. When the Mimic is summoned, they will always come with a random side effect. 5. Killing it drops a big chip that cures all frenzy, heals you for 50% HP, and buffs your damage and madness resistance. 6. Not killing it in time will result in the boss not summoning another Mimic, but rather healing the current one to max and buffing them. By the way, the buffs stack. 7. The Mimic is often affected by the side effect as well, or at least has something to do with it, though I'll explain once we get to the side effect segment. Moving on, to my knowledge, here's how I believe the summoning pattern works. The first is scripted at the start of the enhanced fight, where the boss will summon a Mimic every 2 minutes. That is, until you reach 60% HP, where the boss will do the second scripted summon and speeding up, now summoning every 50 seconds. I also believe that there might be a scripted summon around 40% or 20% HP, but I can't be too sure. Now that we know how they work, let's talk about how to quickly eliminate them. The way I see it, there's 2 methods. One is to trick them into thinking they aren't in danger, or hit them with something their AI doesn't register as an attack. For example, if you have a damage dealing ult, you can easily hit them by locking onto the boss and using your ult as they're nearby. Since you're locked onto the boss, they won't try to dodge it, but will get hit by the AoE. Lingering AoEs are also super nice. Something like Death's Poker or Magma Blade's Ash of War does absolute wonders against them. I would also assume spells like Night Comet and Frenzied Burst would also work, since those are coded to be invisible to anything that can dodge, but I haven't tested it for myself. Also, if you're using Executor's ult, spam L1. They don't know how to dodge the roar, and it doesn't push them on the floor and give them iframes. The other way is being really f***ing annoying. Create the most toxic PvP build you can think of. What you gotta understand is that they don't function like a boss fight. You don't need a lot of hits, you just need to land a few really good ones. Think about it. What's more annoying or harder to deal with? Some guys spamming R1, or million homing raves while some asshole spams running poke attacks? Here's a few ideas. Get homing attacks like glint blades or raves. Use irregular attack patterns to confuse their AI, like delayed jump attacks. Use skills that have projectiles on top of an attack, like the Reduvia skill or Stormblade. And if all else fails, running attacks are always pretty good. Now, you might remember me saying each character has one unique trait, so while I explain each of them, here's my tier list in terms of difficulty, at least in solos. So assume you're always matched with that same character. D. Raider. Bro may be tankier and harder to micro stagger than the rest, but since this guy refuses to dodge, it's an easy kill. C. Iron Eye, Duchess, and Revenant. Iron Eye has range, Dutch has backsteps, and Rev has claws. There's a few differences between them, but nothing running attack spam can't fix. B tier. Guardian and Recluse. Recluse can be annoying to hit, especially if you have no AoEs or a melee weapon, and Guardian tends to turtle. Now, if only our basic skill was the direct counter. A tier. Wilder. Bro is a parry god. Okay. When fighting him, you gotta hit him at weird angles, when his shield isn't out, or with something that can't be parried. though if you have a super heavy weapon or a flail, you should be fine. Also, jumping lights kinda counter him. S tier. Executor. Bro will whip out his cursed blade and parry your ass. Whenever I fight this guy, it's like I gotta confuse him. This fight will either end super fast, or he'll stall you long enough to turn gold. I guess one way to make sure he doesn't parry you is whenever he's in the unsheath stance. Fun fact, I have no idea how much the boss can stack the buff on the Mimic. I went AFK with no death on and came back to a 57 stacked buff Mimic and just called it a day. Now with all of that said, let's finally talk about each side effect and how to deal with them one by one. Also, pretty sure all of them last exactly 45 seconds. Inescapable Eye. Here, the boss will spawn his frenzied eye above your head that will go off 2 times, once about every 18 seconds. To deal with this one, you can do 2 things. Stand near a bunch of madness chips and run over them as soon as you see the eye, or try to kill the Mimic for the big chip, which can also do that while boosting your madness resistance. Inside Riot. Here, the boss will make sure there are 2 summons of each player. Now that second summon has a few interesting qualities. 1, you can bait them into attacking each other, which can distract them. 2, when killed, the main Mimic can take their big chip to both heal and buff themselves. And finally, they actually die after 45 seconds, unlike the main Mimic. Whenever this happens, you can pick and choose between either using the distraction to help kill them both, or using it to focus on the boss. I personally do the former, unless the boss is really low in HP, then I just wail on him. Preach Madness. Your attacks now do madness buildup, and so does the Mimic. Honestly, this is probably one of the best things you can get in this fight, especially if you have really fast weapons. Not only does it help you kill the Mimic faster, but it literally gives you a free madness weapon. You know, the thing that Libra is weak to and does massive chunk damage when it procs? Yeah, that. I'm pretty sure the build-up is based on hits, as when I was using a dual dagger build as Duchess, I managed to proc madness twice on the boss before the timer ended. I also believe that it works on stuff like Raves, so go ham. Offers Challenge. This reduces the max HP of all allies and Mimics by 50%. This only appears after you get Libra to 50% HP, and it's the only side effect that's sort of scripted. That said, not much to say here. You're easier to kill, they're easier to kill. I guess if you take any damage while killing the Mimic, you never need a healing flask, as the big chip will always heal you to max. Unfortunately, Libra doesn't give you back your HP once the effect wears off. False Blessing. If you have Flask, healing doesn't consume any. If you have none, you can still chug. That said, with every heal, you reduce your level by 1 or 2. I guess using it at level 15 won't do much to your damage until you reach level 12, but that said, it is still quite a big hit on your HP and stamina. Shroud all allies. If you're solo, this does absolutely nothing. I also tested if it had any funny effects with Revenant, and nope, I can still see your summons. But if you're in teams, you won't be able to see your allies at all, apart from the visual effects they emit. And if Libra is locked onto them, it looks like the boss has schizophrenia. You also can't see them while they are downed, but they'll still emit a purple glow. Now, with all of that said, I'ma end this vid with a few ending tips. When approaching this fight, of course you want to kill the Mimic as fast as possible, so you can have some alone time with the boss. But when doing so, always remember to keep one eye on Libra, as bro will still be there in the background, acting as a sort of stage hazard. Throughout the fight, you want to try your best to keep track of everything. Location of chips, where to position yourself when the boss throws 3 moves at you at once, that kind of jazz. To help you out, know that regular sprinting is really useful for dodging spells, as you aren't forced to roll to avoid them, and that it can help with positioning, which can be a game changer for this fight. Although, I'ma be real honest, this fight is pure chaos, so don't beat yourself up if you die to something random. I know I have. Also, the way you approach this fight can be really different depending on if you're solos or if you're with teams. If you're solo, you have more room for mistakes and only have to care for yourself. But in teams, you all have to work together, cause if 2 allies go down, their Mimics will still be summoned. And if there's only 1 guy left, all 3 will rush down one lonely goober. Also, cause the Aurora becomes so much more impactful. Remember, stick together and gank 1 Mimic at a time. That seems to be the best course of action. Lastly, don't stop attacking when Libra is summoning. It can still build ult charge and status buildup. Just wanted to mention that. And yeah, that's the enhanced Libra guide done. If this video helped you out, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Spread the word that actually useful boss guides do exist, because I need to feed my cat. But anyways, here's the full fight for anyone who wants it. I hope you have a great day, and I'm gonna go lie down now. Oh, yep, there we go. Summon your goober. Actually, no. I got strapped for this. It's gonna be fine. Oh, hey, how you doing? Where is my riposte? Oh, that didn't even kill him? Crazy. Crazy shit. Give me that. Okay, get your ass over here, please. Okay, incites a riot. Understood. I see. Oh, wait. There we go. GG's, motherfucker.